What's up, everybody? Welcome to Kick Punch and to our second video in our Prison Mike series, aka Michael Scott series. So I think I'm going to break this up into 3 videos. I know my video count always goes up as I make these, but in this video I want to just focus on the refinements and then the pose, and then in the third video we'll do like a poly paint and render of the character. And that one should be a little bit shorter. It's pretty quick to get that stuff banged out. So what I like to do when I get to this stage where I have all my parts kind of broken out that I want, but I'm still making broad refinements and just, you know, big proportional adjustments, is I'll come up here to Z plugin and then go to my transpose master and hit T-pose mesh, and it's going to pull all of those subtools into its own one combined subtool, like so. So now we can make big broad adjustments, and knowing that we're going to affect all of those, okay? And I'm okay if his eyes, I think, get a little bit deformed. I want his head to like slouch forward a little bit more, so I'm going to use the mask lasso and then blur that and then invert my selection and use my transpose to kind of bring his head forward and down just a little bit. And then I think that's good there. Chin, probably good, but maybe back just a little bit. His ear's just a smidge bigger. Don't forget to check your reference just to be safe. Back of the collar is getting a little swirly. And then I noticed that his one lower eyelid on his left eye kind of comes up just a little bit more. Just adds to the crazy just a little. Okay, so now that we've done that, we've made our broad adjustments, and we want to send those back to our other subtool or our other tool. We can go back to Z plugin and click the button on the right this time, and it'll send everything back for us. But we'll retain all of our fun detailing that we've done on each of those. Okay, cool. So love me some transpose master. Try to use that as often as possible. This bandana shape is getting crazy. Okay, and let's actually make sure. We don't need to have clean topology on this guy necessarily, although sometimes it's advantageous. I think I'm ready to commit to Dynamesh, depending on if we can get the resolution we need. So what I mean by that is I want to close this hole. You know, I don't want it to be a single-sided geo, so I'm going to come up here to geometry and do delete hidden. Actually, no, I mean just delete lower. But first thing first, I'm going to hit save next and version up. And you'll notice that when you move into transpose master and kind of bounce around in some of the Z plugins, it breaks the save function, which is pretty terrible. Specifically the save and save next functions, but the save as function always works as expected. So we'll switch back over to our proper directory here, the office, Michael, Z, and then I'm going to version up to version 3. And now once you've done that, these buttons will work properly. Probably a ticket I should submit to Maxon to see if we can get that figured out. Let's just push in some of our cavities just a little bit here. Sometimes working on a clean topology is a little bit better than working in Dynamesh. A nice thing to do as well as you're working is just do some renders. And you can do that by coming over here to BPR. If you just hit render it'll just do a basic render for you and add some shadows. And if you'd like to play with those shadows a little bit, you can actually come over here to, you know, the BPR shadow drop down in the render drop down render menu, and you can crank, you know, like the intensity, the strength, and make the angle, the sharpness of that shadow blur a little bit. And then you can crank the rays if you'd like to as well. And a way you can adjust the actual angle of the light is you can come over here to the light and move this little orange dot around. I'm going to move it up. In this case, I want his eyes to maybe catch more shadows. And sometimes this helps to inform your modeling when you see shadows kind of casting it across your character. So I encourage that by all means. So it's getting a little weird down here. Sometimes you'll make the most subtle adjustment and it'll make or break a likeness. And it's really hard sometimes to figure out what that adjustment was, where you went. And so just remember to version up your files. So maybe you did something that you didn't like. And I think I need to push this. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to use my move topological brush for this and push this upper lip in. The move topological brush can do some weird things when you're working on a higher poly count, but unfortunately we deleted our lower subdivision levels, so we don't have those right now. You'll notice it creates these weird like little edges. So it's best used on a lower poly, but we can make it work, I think. So using H polish and just cleaning up some of our little mess there, giving this a little bit of a indent. Yeah, I think that's helped. I'm going to take a look at my reference here for a moment. One thing I'm noticing is that I might have pushed the lips too high. There should be a little bit more of a gap there. And one thing you can do, I just realized this, is if you've deleted your lower subdivision levels, you can hit reconstruct subdiv and it'll just rebuild those for you, which is straight magic. So I completely spaced that I could do that. So he's got this very distinct kind of like longer upper lip that I think we lost a little bit. Bring this guy in. This guy out. Use my H polish to clean up this. And stepping back up. H polish. Just sharpen out some of these things, and then use the Damien standard to introduce some of these little wrinkles that we got going on. Maybe introduce back a little bit of thickness to his neck area. I think that's something we need to do. Probably want to dive back into the transpose master for this kind of work, but it was just all left click through things easy enough. I'm going to use my standard brush, not my Damien standard, and then add a little bit of a crease right here. Sort of stylize out these ears just a little bit more. Sometimes Damien Sander doesn't like other Geo being close to it, so that's what's going on there, I think. Just be sure to tumble around a good amount. It's one thing I find that I tend to do sometimes is just hanging out in one little perspective, and that can pose the quality of your model overall. Just remember to right click and rotate your character frequently. Control D and subdivide this Dynamesh and get some more polygons. Get things back into place here. Now we get a little bit weird on that shape of this profile. Could come up here along the top of this too and add a little bit of stretching and things. Okay, sweet. Let's do a save. Sorry for my chair noises. When I do the edit and run the audio and stuff, I realize that my chair is the noisiest thing on planet Earth. Got some huge nostrils, so let's try and get that. The nose is something, man, you can noodle with that for ages and ages. Pushing these guys in just a little. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's do a save, and then we'll refine this guy. Maybe do a polish on it and see what happens. Might lose a bunch of detail. Out, just make sure it's not getting too thin. Again, the brushes are mostly Damien Sandard and the H polish. Not sure I mentioned this either, but as you introduce history to your tools, you can go up here. You can go back through your history with these little ticks up here. And so that's how you can go all the way back and forth throughout your history and kind of see how things have gone along the way. Dive back into my clay buildup a little bit here, and just don't want things to be, appear too thick because it is fabric after all. So the stuff that I can just play around with for ages as well. And I'm not sure what the final output of this would be. Usually my tutorials are more centered around 3D printing, so I'm not worried about like getting clean topology or any of that stuff. So maybe I'll just leave this guy in Dynamesh when we wrap up, and then we could have him ready for the printer. My wife would love this. So I'm looking at my reference real quickly, make sure things are kind of in line. One of his prominent features is he does have pretty what's the word? Pretty big gap here between his nose and his mouth. So I'm gonna try. I think that'll help to sell it. There we go. A little smaller. I think smaller was good. Maybe up a little bit over here. Just remember we moved out of symmetry. Sometimes if your topology is clean, you can come over here to transform and then do use posable symmetry, and it'll, as long as your topology is clean, it'll still work on a non-symmetrical sculpted mesh. Not topology though. If the topology is out of symmetry, then you're host. Alright, I like that sneer. I think that helped a lot. Let's go back to my concept. Taking a look at what's going on. And I think I'm going to push these wrinkles in just a little. About 20 minutes in this tutorial. I think we could dive into the polypainting in this tutorial. So there we go. Okay, so let's switch over to Dynamesh on the body geo and see what that looks like. So I'm going to do a save because this is a drastic change. Make me version up. And then come over here to Dynamesh, and as we know, we've got to crank this at least 2000 and see. Just hit no on that. Let's just delete our lower subdivision so we don't have to fight that again. Let's crank it all the way to like 3000. We're still seeing weirdness. We might have to scale this thing down overall. I think I'm gonna do that. So one way to do that easily is just go to scale, turn on your where that is, so we'll just redraw out the legacy and then it'll reset. If you click on this button, it'll basically allow you to manipulate all the subtools. So let's move it around real quick, make sure nothing's masked, because that's going to be an issue. Where did our transform gizmo go? I don't know. Still needs some work, ZBrush. Okay, so now I'm going to, which way? I think I want to scale it up. It's too small, maybe? Let's try that. Okay, that was it. All right, so now we're in a good spot. So I scaled it up about 3 or 4 times, all of the subtools, and now we have the numbers we need down here. So now I can just hit Dynamesh. So if I change that to 128, it's going to be really, really low. But if I crank it to 1600, it's going to be better. Let's go like low 2s. Okay, that's cool. So now we're looking for as little awkward artifacts as possible. So now sometimes, I mean, now we're not going to bat all that awkward topology that was right there because we just have all the polygons we need. But it probably is a little more taxing on your machine, so just be aware of that. Forward with this just a little. Remember to tumble around. Look at the profile of his nose if I can find it. He's got a very distinct, his nostrils are just freaking huge. I bet he sleeps so well. So much oxygen going into those things. Okay, nice. Nice. You could even do a polish and then re-Dynamesh and see what that does for you. It really just sharpens all the edges out. I don't know if I want that right now. I want that, I kind of want the control over it, so. Okay, just using the standard brush, pushing in the ear just a little. Okay, so let's save, and then we will move into polypaint mode. And really what we want to do, we want to start with a white shader, or skin tone shader. That's what it's called. I think they call it the skin shader. Let's clean this area up right here. It's no good. So some of the ways you can do that is you can just smooth, and try to get rid of those little things, and then re-Dynamesh, and it'll clean it up just a little bit. Or you could just like do an inflate, and inflate out that edge, you know, and then re-Dynamesh, and it'll clean that guy up. Okay, so now I'm gonna hit save again, and then switch over to a different material type. We'll come over here to materials and go to the skin shader, and you'll notice the eyes were actually painted with the gray shader. So let's make sure our Z add is turned off and our M is on, and we'll just paint with the white. And we'll do the same thing here. We're going to choose a skin tone now. So if we come over here to like our orangish reddish colors, let's grab us a good skin tone. And instead of having to paint all of it by hand, you can just go over to color and fill object. What are we on right now? What's going on? Material, make sure RGB is turned on, and then go to color, fill object. And now we've got that. We need to be a little bit deeper of a color, I think. Color, fill object. Yeah, maybe just a little bit more desaturated. Okay, and then from here, I'm just gonna switch over to the reds and then crank my RGB value down just a little bit. Make sure your symmetry is turned on, and start adding like kind of the red tone to like the nose area. And then obviously he actually has some fairly pink lips. It's a pretty prominent feature of his. And remember, our lips aren't symmetrical, so we might have to hit X and turn off our symmetrical painting and paint those a little bit. Let's give him a 5 o'clock shadow too, so go over to more of the grays, and then we'll introduce that up with his upper lip specifically. And it gets really dark actually up top here, and down below on his chin, and not so much in the cheek area. Turn off solo mode and see how things are looking. So in order to eyedrop a color, you can just hit C anywhere, and it'll eyedrop that value. Turn off symmetry. It actually has a fairly prominent kind of white strip that goes like right here. And you can smooth your poly paint too. If you turn off Z add while holding the shift button, you can just run a smooth. And then we're going to eyedrop this value here and just introduce that into the eyes just a little. And definitely into the ears. It gets real red out here on the ears. And then it gets much lighter in the lobe area right here. But the cartilage kind of gets really close to the skin tightness. Make this red just a little. Hit save, just be safe here. And let's start painting these eyes because they look crazy. So let's eyedrop our value, and we don't want them to be perfect white. Something like maybe a little bit whiter than that, probably. And I believe this gentleman has like almost kind of like hazel greenish eyes. This gentleman. Oops, symmetry. Remember symmetry. Let's turn that off. Control D those eyes to give us some more polygons to paint. And we might move more to like the blues, I think, from here. One thing I like to do is turn on solo mode. Come in here, and it's okay that that edge is smooth. I think for now we'll sharpen that up. Just eyedrop that white. Make sure RGB is all the way up, our intensity, and then just maybe sharpen up the edge. For a photorealism, you want that edge to be a little bit blurred, otherwise it will look cartoony. But because we're going stylized, I think we're in a good spot. So one thing I'm going to do here is grab a brighter value and go just along the bottom of the eye right here. Just the bottom. Just like that. Just to brighten that up a little bit. And then we'll go back to full black with the full 100% RGB intensity. And we'll just paint in the iris, the pupil I should say, of the eye. Okay, yeah, there we go. Now it's looking more crazy. Alright, and this eye is a little bit squirrely, so let's rotate that eye just a little bit back into place. Even though I kind of like the more crazed look of that. You could go as far as to add like some specular highlights if you'd like. You could go in and just like put a little ding right there. Just adds a little bit of life to it. And then let's go ahead and paint our hair color. One thing that'll make it easier is we'll just merge all of our hair down into the same subtool, and then just do a color fill object. And then come over here to the collar. Let's pick a whitish color for the collar, and then we'll paint just that white color right here for the shirt. Turn solo, make sure we're painting it all the way up. There we go. And then he's got this tacky like 90s style tie, but we'll just make it brown for now. And his suit is like a navy blue. Fill object. Sweet. Now we'll do a save. And now for the hard part, this this beanie, or not beanie, bandana is kind of a purplish. A little bit brighter with it, like so. And color to fill object. Let's switch over to reference again. And one thing I'm going to try, it's going to be a little bit tricky, is I'm going to alt left click over to the head geo. I drop this brown and do kind of try to feather this because he's got, I mean, I don't want to say a unibrow, but just feather this and see if I can make it work a little bit better. And the best option might just be to merge the hair down. So we'll just do that. Let's just merge the hair down into, one of my things that I like to do is I like to, when I'm working in my subtools and it's getting complicated, the working subtools that the subtools I'm working with, I like to drop to the bottom of the stack. So I'll hold shift and click this arrow at the bottom, and it'll drop that head to the bottom of the stack. And then I'm also working with the hair, so I'm going to drop that as well. So now these two guys, this is my work area. So if I merge down, I can merge these all together. Let's make sure that our poly count stays good and everything detail-wise stays good. And now we can actually just start smoothing and kind of easily combine these and kind of blur that edge just a little bit better. Maybe it was worth it, maybe it wasn't, I don't know. So his hair gets, brows get a little bit lighter right here. And then let's use the Damien standard and just add those details back in. Let's get this little guy that kind of dips down right here. Yeah, I like that better. For this area too, just a little. Introduce some details again with the Damien standard. Clean this a little area up. Damien standard again. To the rescue. Got a bald spot, which is awesome. Just for that, just for kicks. He's not bald because he got hair plugs. Remember that time he got hair plugs? Alright, so sweet. Okay. So we could add, let's do a save. Oops. Once again. Let's path to the right place. Ugh. Yes. We go to version 5 for this guy, and I'm getting a little bit of some flesh underneath right here that's looking awkward. So let's clean that guy up. We want it to just be brown right there. Make sure symmetry's on. In that upper eyelid detailing just a little. Come out with it too. Okay, so what things am I seeing now? I think I want this eyelid to drop down just a little, give us a little bit more there. Don't want to lose the crazy, but we do want to give him just a little bit more there. I think it's going to look better for stylizing too. Just gotta clean that up a little. Okay, so now let's see if we can add some of these little designs here. I'm not gonna really get crazy. Looks like we can just use some of the defaults maybe for this. And if you switch to like the drag rect, pull those guys out. It's a similar design, but I mean, if you really want to get nitpicky, you could just paint it yourself and just kind of come in here and like start doing, you know, some fun little flowers. Let's say we want to just subdue the whiteness just a little bit, which is a term I use all the time, just subdue my whiteness. Let's switch the intensity down to like a 45, come over here to color, and then do a fill object, you know, kind of just drop those back just a little. Awesome. Okay, so the final stage I think to this is just, what I like to do is, if you come over here to your subtools, when we were running transpose, we created a bunch of those, so I'm just going to delete all and just get all our other tools out of the way so we remove all the confusion. I like to keep all this area really clean. So now if I come over here to Z plug and go to T-pose mesh, we can come in here and just make some very final like adjustments to everything. And don't worry, I think the poly paint will maintain anyway. Let's see if it does. I'll just make a quick adjustment and see if it I think mostly it was just like the jawline was grabbing my attention, so. Yeah, I don't claim to be a pro at caricature. There's definitely a science and like a whole art behind caricature type stuff. But I think the root of it is just find those prominent features that just really drive them home. Just nail those, and if you can get those, then you've pretty much got it made. All right, so just Z plug in transpose master and then T-pose back. Let's see if it keeps our poly paint. I sure hope it does. Looks like it is. Awesome. Okay, we might have pushed the jaw just a little too much, so let's bring that back. Just clean up underneath. Up his mouth area just a little. The only thing I've lost a little bit was getting some of those whites in his eyes, which adds to how nuts he looks. You could come in here too onto these eyes and actually introduce just a little bit of redness around the caruncula area, just a tiny bit, and it'll help to blend that all in just a little bit better, to the face. biggest thing I see people do is they make the sclera and the whites of the eyes just perfectly white, and it's a no-no for the most part. I don't think anyone has perfectly white eyes. So if we're looking down in Y, we've definitely got some reshaping to do of not the eye, but the eyelid itself. Yeah, I mean, on a real eye, you have this corneal bulge that continues to come out, and so your eyelid would actually pop out like that. But we're not going to have that on this guy, so I'm just going to fake it till we make it. When you make those adjustments down below, you got to make sure you rotate forward too. And his eyelid should almost be like perfectly straight right here to get that kind of sneer. It's amazing how these subtle adjustments you make on the eyes can make such a huge change to it. When you step back. Nice, okay. Yeah, he doesn't really have like the shadowing that catches right here. Jumping back into my polypaint, turning off my Z add, and just going back into just kind of feathering some of these edges a little. It should be more of a gray up here instead of a pinkish. I should carry this up just a little bit more. It is prison Mike after all. He hasn't been shaving in prison, right? He was in the clink. So using my standard, or just the basic standard brush, and pushing some of these details a little bit more, cleaning that guy up, and then jumping back into H polish and sharpening stuff. Just going around doing a sharpen. I think I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on all subtools and then rotate this guy just back just a little bit. It's kind of getting awkward. There we go. Yeah. He's like looking down at people. All right. I think that that wraps up our Prison Mic tutorial series. I got it banged out in a couple of videos, both of them at 45 minutes apiece. Let me know if this is the format that you all like, and if you like shorter videos and shorter series. Is this more like attainable for people, more graspable? Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here. I don't want him to look too skinny, too gaunt. All right. So yeah, let me know if you liked it, and like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what other characters you'd like. I was thinking about going through some of the other cast of The Office. Some of my other favorite characters, I think, I'd go with Daryl. Daryl would be a fun one. But you let me know, and thanks again for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.